Imagine the cold air of Kyushu in AD 1274 biting the inside of your nose like a warning. You see smoke from cooking fires lie low over the fields, heavy with the smell of ash and salted fish. You feel the year turning toward death, temple bells in the distance, slow and patient, as if time itself breathes through bronze. Then a runner appears in the village lane with dust caked into his lips. He doesn't bow properly. His eyes shake. His voice shakes harder. Across the sea, the Great Khan demands Japan kneel. The words land in your mouth like a blade laid flat on your tongue. Submit, send tribute, accept foreign rule. You are not inside a war hall. You are right here where children's footprints harden in freezing mud, and mothers pull them indoors as if the wind carries teeth. You see old men stop pretending the horizon is harmless. The sea looks guilty now, as if it hides something in plain sight. You feel the first true change. The normal world breaks, because the enemy is not only men. It is an empire, an appetite that already swallows kingdoms whose names taste like legends when spoken aloud. You stand near a fence post and listen to rumors collide. Scouts return from the coast with voices that don't match. One swears he sees a forest of masts, tall as a winter pine grove. Another insists it is only a raiding party, small, loud, meant to scare fishermen and steal rice. Nobody measures an ocean with rumors, but rumors measure you. They measure how fast your heart runs without permission. A neighbor mutters prayers. A child asks what tribute means. No one answers. The word feels like giving away your own bones. Therefore, the village changes shape in a single afternoon. You see rope pulled from sheds. You see arrowheads checked and rewrapped in oilcloth. You feel armor lifted from storage, old lacquer, old leather, old iron, smelling like damp wood and sweat that never truly leaves. The cords pinch your fingers as you tie them. You hear the creak of a bow that has waited too long. The bow seems to complain as if it prefers silence. But the sea refuses silence. Look toward the shoreline and imagine the first moment the water answers. A dark line forms on the horizon, too straight to be a cloud, too stubborn to be a trick of light. It grows. It breaks into shapes. You see sails, many, like black leaves spread across a steel-gray sea. Not one ship. Not a handful. Enough to make the coastline feel small. Enough to make the throat tighten. You feel your stomach drop as if the land itself shifts under your feet. The shoreline becomes a threshold. Behind you, farms, shrines, family names carved into memory. Ahead, the wide mouth of an empire sailing straight at your ribs. You march toward Hakata Bay because there is nowhere else to put your fear except inside your legs. You feel armor pinch your shoulders raw, the straps biting deeper with every hour. Sand gets inside your sandals and grinds your skin until each step feels like stepping on glass. You taste salt from the wind and from your own lip where it cracks. The road is full of men who pretend to be stone. Some whisper. Some laugh too loudly. Some stare forward like staring can keep the sea from arriving. But the sea arrives anyway. At the edge of the bay, the world turns loud. You see the beach stretch out like an open palm offered to the enemy. You expect ritual. You expect names shouted across distance, arrows exchanged with manners, champions stepping forward under banners. That is how honor feels in stories. But the invaders do not move like a collection of proud individuals. They move like a single animal with many hands. You hear drums. Not scattered. Not celebratory. Steady. Confident. A heartbeat you do not share. Flags snap in the wind. Their lines tighten. Their feet land together. You feel your own tradition wobble for a breath, because this enemy does not care who you are. You raise your bow. You feel the familiar pull, the string biting into your glove. You aim at a man whose face you can barely see under strange armor, lamellar plates that overlap like fish scales, fur at the shoulders, iron glinting without polish. He does not step forward alone. He stands inside a block of bodies, protected by the closeness of his fellows. Your arrow flies. It hits something, maybe flesh, maybe wood, maybe nothing worth naming. The block keeps moving. But something else arrives before the blades truly meet. You hear a sound that does not belong to any weapon you know. A short whistle. A thump. Then a crack like thunder trapped inside a clay pot. A shell bursts on the sand and the air fills with smoke and sparks. The blast slaps your face. Your ears ring. You smell sulfur and burned clay, sharp and wrong. Men shout. Horses scream. The sky looks like a festival for half a heartbeat, except the fireworks aim at your ribs. You feel panic crawl up from the belly, and you hate it, but it doesn't ask permission. Therefore, the fight becomes a confusion of noises and half-seen shapes. Arrows hiss. Spears jab. The beach turns slick where waves retreat and return, as if the sea cannot decide whose side it favors. You see a friend stumble, a red line opening under his arm where armor shifts. You see an invader step over him without a pause, because a single body means nothing to a machine that moves in blocks. You feel your sword heavier than you remember. The grip is damp. The blade reflects nothing but gray. But the day does not end cleanly. The invaders push, and you push back, and the distance between life and death narrows to the width of a breath. You smell wetwood from their ships. You taste blood that isn't yours, then wonder if it is. You hear commands in a language that breaks like stones in a river, fast and hard. You cannot understand the words, but you understand the certainty behind them. You don't know if reinforcements arrive. You don't know if the enemy holds more men hidden behind the next sail. You only know the beach keeps swallowing sound. Night comes, but night does not bring rest. Night brings decisions. The elders and commanders speak in low voices where torches shake in the wind. The invaders anchor offshore, their ships bobbing like dark teeth. The bay smells of seaweed and pitch. You feel an idea form, small, dangerous, alive. If the enemy fights as one beast by day, then bite it in pieces by night. You climb into a small boat with others who do not speak much. Words feel like bad luck now. You hear paddles dip into the water, careful, controlled. You wrap cloth around your blade so it does not clink and confess your presence. Your hands are cold. Your mouth is dry. You see the enemy ships ahead as taller shadows against the sky. You feel the water pull at the boat like it wants to drag you down and keep you. The boat glides. The hull whispers against small waves. You smell tar and rope. Then you reach the side of a ship. A grappling hook bites into wood with a sound like teeth into meat. You climb. Your palms slip on wet planks. Your sword feels suddenly too long, too honest, too loud. You reach the deck and everything becomes torchlight and chaos. You see faces flash, wide eyes, open mouths, hair bound differently, helmets shaped like no lord in your province wears. You feel bodies collide. You hear the thud of feet, the wet slap of something dropped overboard. A man swings a club that looks simple but lands like a hammer. You duck. You cut. You do not know if the blade finds flesh or armor. You feel a warm spray on your wrist. You don't know if another enemy stands behind you until breath hits your neck. You turn too late, but a friend's blade interrupts the moment. Life continues by accident. But success tastes thin. The raid burns supplies, cuts ropes, kills sleeping men, but the enemy is still an ocean of bodies. Therefore, the raids repeat. Some nights victory tastes like warm rice, the rare comfort of chewing something that does not fight back. Other nights defeat tastes like seawater and blood because a boat flips, or a torch flares too bright, or a shouted warning turns the deck into a trap. You feel fatigue settle into bone. You see fewer familiar faces at dawn. You hear prayers muttered with cracked lips. Then the invaders withdraw for now. The bay quiets, but the quiet feels like a held breath, not peace. The scars remain. The smell of burned pitch lingers in your hair. Stories spread about thunder weapons and disciplined blocks of men. Fear becomes a household object, placed beside the rice jar and the water bucket. You feel something worse than fear begin to form, memory that refuses to fade. Years turn, but the memory of AD 1274 does not soften. It hardens. It becomes stone inside the chest. Therefore, hands go to stone outside the chest. You help build a wall along the shore. You drag rocks that scrape skin off knuckles. You lift until shoulders tremble. You mix mortar that stings cracked fingers. It gets under fingernails and stays there like a reminder. You see the wall rise chest high, stone upon stone, a long scar the land gives itself. Each rock is a vow. Next time, the beach does not belong to strangers. The work is not glorious. The sun burns. The rain soaks. Insects bite the tender parts behind the knee. You feel your back complain every morning. You smell wet stone and old seaweed. You hear the scrape of rock against rock, the rhythm of labor replacing the rhythm of drums you still hear in dreams. But the wall grows, and with it grows a belief that preparation matters, even when the sea is wide. AD 1281 arrives with heat that presses down like a hand. The air swarms with insects. Sweat runs under armor before any fighting begins. The ocean looks too calm, too polite, as if it hides laughter. Word comes again. Fleets. 2. One from Korea, one from the south. But the numbers do not agree. One man says countless. Another says manageable. Another says the enemy carries horses, siege gear, more thunder weapons than anyone wants to imagine. You see commanders argue in low voices. You feel the urge to shout, to demand certainty, but certainty does not exist. So you tighten your knot cords and stare at your arrows, counting them like prayers. You stand behind the seawall that your own bleeding hands raise. The stone is warm from the sun. It smells faintly of salt and lime. Chest high, high enough to save you, low enough to make you feel every incoming shot. You place your fingers on the top edge and feel the roughness cut into calluses. Imagine the decisive minute. The dark sails return, thicker than before, and the bay seems to fill as if the sea grows crowded. You hear it first, drums again, steady, confident. You see the enemy ships press toward the wall. Oars flash. Sails billow. The fleet looks organized, rehearsed, inevitable. But inevitability is a story people tell themselves to sleep. Reality is wood, rope, wind, hunger, fear, and miscalculation. You don't know what holds the enemy together: discipline, threat, hope of plunder, or simple habit of obeying. You only know they come. Arrows begin to fly. They clatter against stone. The sound is not heroic. It is like hail on a roof while someone tries to break your door down. You feel splinters jump off the wall where shafts strike. You duck, and the wall saves your face by a hand's breadth. You smell pitch from enemy ships. You smell wet wood. The mix is thick and sticky in the throat. But the wall changes the fight. The invaders cannot simply surge onto the beach in one unstoppable block. Therefore, they hesitate, reposition, search for gaps, search for places where stone ends or men grow tired. You see ladders tested. You see grappling hooks thrown. Some catch. Some slide off with a scrape that makes teeth grind. You feel time stretch. You hear your own breath inside your helmet. A clay shell arcs through the air and lands behind the wall. For half a heartbeat, it sits there like a harmless jar. Then it bursts. Smoke punches your eyes. Sparks jump like angry insects. The blast slams your ears flat. You choke. Your vision floods with gray. You feel the hot sting of something, shard, grit, burnt powder on your cheek. Men cough. Men scream. A horse somewhere loses its mind. You don't know if the next blast lands on your skull. Therefore, the decision becomes simple and terrible. Stay behind stone and be chipped to pieces, or climb over stone and cut the enemy where the powder is stored. You vault the wall. Your boots land in surf that yanks at your legs like hands. The water is warm near the surface, cold underneath, a trick that steals balance. You run, but running in water feels like running in a dream where the ground refuses. You smell brine. You taste it as spray hits your mouth. A grappling hook bites into a whole plank. The rope is rough under your palms. You climb, muscles burning, armor dragging you down like a jealous spirit. You reach the deck and the world becomes shouting you cannot understand. Torches flare. Faces turn. Armor flashes, lamellar plates, fur iron. You see a man raise a curved blade. You feel the instant before impact as a hollow space in the chest. Steel meets steel. The shock runs up your arm into your teeth. The deck is slick with seawater and something darker. You slip, catch yourself, cut low. A body drops, but the deck does not make room. It keeps moving under feet like a living thing. You hear foreign voices barking orders. You hear your own men shout names, not for ceremony, but so a friend knows where not to swing. You don't know how many ships fill the bay. You don't know if this deck is one of 10 or one of 1,000. But the enemy expects daylight battle, lines, formations, control. Therefore, night raids keep biting. Small boats appear like insects, stinging, vanishing, returning. Some raids burn a ship. Some raids only spill blood and steal sleep. You feel exhaustion hollow your cheeks. You feel hunger not even when food sits in the belly, because the body knows what fear costs. You see men's hands shake when tying knots. You hear prayers spoken to any god that listens. Then the wind begins to change, and nobody trusts it at first. The air grows heavy. The horizon smudges. The sea that looks calm starts to breathe differently, longer swells, a deeper roll, like a large animal shifting in sleep. You smell rain before it falls, metallic and clean, cutting through pitch. You feel hairs lift on your arms under wet sleeves. A veteran squints and spits, as if the spit carries a verdict. A blast goes off somewhere and smoke drifts, but the smoke does not drift normally. It pulls sideways. The torches bend. Flags snap harder. The wind speaks in a new tone, low and insisting. You stand on a deck, Enemy deck or your own skiff, it barely matters, and feel the plank start to tilt in a way that is not caused by men. You don't know if this shift brings salvation or drags everyone into the same grave. Then the sky commits to violence. The storm arrives with no negotiation. Rain slaps like thrown gravel. It hits armor and becomes 1,000 tiny drums. Thunder rolls, not distant, but close enough to feel inside the ribs. Wind screams through rigging. Masts groan as if alive. You see a mast snap, and the crack is a scream of wood that makes the stomach clench. Sailcloth tears like paper. Anchors drag. Ropes whip like snakes. The sea turns black and white, black water, white foam, white spray ripped into the air. Ships collide. The sound is unbearable. Wood smashing wood, iron scraping iron, men shouting, horses shrieking inside holds, unable to understand why the world becomes a spinning cage. You grip anything you can, rope, rail, plank, because the wind tries to peel you off the ship like bark from a tree. You taste salt and rain and fear, all mixed into one bitterness. Men tumble into the water and vanish. The water closes over helmets and never explains itself. You see hands reach up, then disappear, then reach again, then disappear forever. You feel the helplessness of watching someone drown while your own arms barely keep you attached to life. You don't know if any shore remains reachable. You don't know if the wall stands or if it crumbles under waves. You don't know if your own boat survives. But storms do not choose sides. Therefore, the storm threatens you too. A piece of spar swings and nearly takes your head. You duck so hard your neck screams. A wave slams the deck knee-deep, then waist-deep. The ship lists. The horizon tilts. For a breath, the ocean seems to stand up beneath you, lifting the hull like a hand lifts a toy, then dropping it with contempt. You hear the deep boom of something breaking below, keel, plank, the spine of the ship giving up. You crawl. You cling. You pray without words. You feel your fingers cramp around rope until nails split. You see lightning flash and freeze the world in a single harsh photograph. Tangled ships, torn sails, men like scattered ants, the wall a dark line, the bay a cauldron. Then darkness returns thicker as if ashamed of what it shows. You don't know if dawn ever arrives. Dawn arrives warped and gray, like the world wakes up bruised. Rain eases, but the wind still mutters. You stagger along a beach littered with wreckage, planks, barrels, broken bows, snapped doors. A drowned horse lies on its side with legs stiff, eyes open, staring at nothing. Bodies in foreign armor roll in the foam as if the sea returns evidence. The smell is rot beginning, mixed with wet rope and spilled grain. You feel your stomach turn, not from hunger, but from the sight of so much ending. You look for familiar faces. Some stand, hollow-eyed, armor dented, hair plastered to cheeks. Some do not stand. You see gaps where voices belong. You see hands burned from pitch, blistered and raw. You see the seawall stained dark where blood dries overnight. Victory does not sing. Victory wheezes. You feel relief, but it is heavy relief, the kind that presses down like a stone placed on the chest. Survivors speak one word again and again, not as history but as a charm, kamikaze, divine wind. The word travels mouth to mouth like warmth shared in winter. You cannot prove any god aims the storm. You only know the timing feels too perfect to call it random when you are the one still breathing. You feel the human need to give meaning to weather because meaning feels safer than chaos. But meaning alone does not keep anyone alive. Therefore, the truth that lasts longer than any storm comes into focus in the wreckage. Preparation plus geography turns an empire's certainty into splinters. The wall matters. The raids matter. The refusal to panic matters. Those choices keep you alive long enough for nature to deliver the final blow. If the wall is not there, the enemy lands en masse. If raids do not harass them, they sleep and repair and organize. If fear wins, hands stop working and stone never rises. You feel the strange ache of knowing the storm is not the only hero here. Human backs, human calluses, human stubbornness also stand in the story. You walk among wreckage and see how an empire bleeds at the edge of an island. You see crates split open, grain soaked, useless. You see arrows floating like dead reeds. You see broken drums, their skins slack with water. The enemy arrives with discipline, but discipline cannot eat salt water. The enemy arrives with confidence, but confidence cannot stitch torn sails in a gale. You feel the lesson sharpen. Supply lines are not poetry. They are arteries. Cut them, and even the strongest body collapses. The cost counts itself in quiet ways. You see a boy searching faces for a father who never returns. You hear a widow's wail caught by wind and carried down the shore until it thins into nothing. You feel your own hands shake when trying to lift a cup because the body remembers clinging to rope in the dark. You don't know if the Great Khan tries again next year, or in 10 years, or never. You only know the sea remains, and the horizon still looks like a mouth. Therefore, the verdict settles like silt after a flood. Japan stands, but it stands on a beach of broken men. The enemy fleet shatters, but the enemy is still real somewhere beyond sight, still hungry, still capable of learning. The storm saves you, but the storm also teaches a cruel fairness. Nature kills without caring who deserves it. You feel gratitude tangled with dread, because salvation arrives wearing the same face as catastrophe. Now the mirror turns toward the present, and the smell of wet rope becomes something else in the mind. Diesel, burning wires, empty shelves, silent ports. The lesson is not a myth about gods alone. It is a lesson about overconfidence and the thinness of control. The greatest force on Earth still fails at the edge of an island if logistics break, if intelligence stays uncertain, if morale frays, if one uncontrollable variable hits like a typhoon at midnight. You see the pattern. Power assumes it can move anywhere, but power still rides on weather, timing, maintenance, and human error. You feel it in modern life whenever a system looks invincible, markets that never fall, machines that never fail, plans that never account for the strange black swan at sea. But the bay at Hakata shows a quieter truth. Preparation does not guarantee victory, but preparation buys time. And time is the only currency that lets chance pick your side. You see the seawall again, chest high, rough stone, built by hands that bleed and keep stacking rock anyway. So here is the legacy question, the one no ledger answers and no chronicle settles. When the next black sail appears on the horizon of your own life, some crisis that moves like a single animal, some force that does not care who you are. Do you build the wall while the sea still looks calm, or do you wait and trust the wind to love you? You feel the salt air in your lungs. You see the wreckage. You see the stone. You don't know what storm comes next. Therefore, the only choice that belongs to you is what your hands do before the sky decides.